Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. This is a continuation of the video that I started recording the last time on Garda vetting. So today I'm going to continue that tutorial on Garda vetting. Now, previously I mentioned what vetting was about, who needs to be vetted, why is the vetting done, and then the procedure and all it takes in an overview. And then I continued by mentioning how to fill the form, which I'm going to continue today in this tutorial. So now, the guidelines for completing the vetting invitation form, NVB1, I'm showing that on your screen. Like I mentioned previously, the form must be completed using block capital letters, and your handwriting must be clear and legible. You're using your ballpoint pen, not a pen that looks that writes like marker, if you know what I mean, like it's too thick, so it has to be point pen. Usually a standard black pen should be fine. No photocopy is accepted. That is, you have to print it out and fill the form manually. In terms of signatures, it has to be your wet signature that you are penning on the form. Um no digital signatures allowed for the form. And then you need to provide documents to validate your identity, even with the application form, which I'm going to explain in this part two of this video as well. So on your personal details, in relation to filling the form, you need to allow one block letter per box, and your date of birth field, you need to allow one digit per box. So as I'm saying this, let me show you a field form so that I can be explaining that simultaneously so that you can understand. So this is a sample of a field form. It's coming up on your screen. I've just blotted out sensitive information. It's just to show you, give you an idea how to fill that, what it looks like. So usually your employer or recruitment agency is going to send you this form to fill. This blank space is going to contain the logo of that recruitment agency or the logo of your employer. So it blanks out so that sensitive informations are not displayed on this field aspect. Your reference, that reference should be left blank on the form. It should be left blank. The agency would fill it in at their hand, so it should be left blank. And then this is the personal information I was mentioning. Um, so it's an offense to make a false statement. That is, everything you're filling on the form needs to be correct. Your full name is your first name. That is the name you're addressed by, your very first name, as it is on your international passport. So as I mentioned, one letter per box. As you can see, the name on the in the boxes, one letter per box. That is your full name. Some people have this first name or forename that has hyphen in between or dash in between. So you can still put it in if your name is as long as that. Then if you have a middle name, that is your second name, which is on your international passport, or that is very silent, or even if you are called by that, provided there is a second slot for a middle name, so you can put it in these boxes here, and you write again with ballpoint pen, one letter per box. Then your surname is your last name, so and that is that as well. You have to put it in one letter per box. And then in relation to the guidelines, it says for date of birth, if you see this aspect that I'm highlighting, allow one digit per box. So I'm going to go back to that form and show you what that implies. So your date of birth should be here. For example, if your date of birth is 1st of January, for example, that means you're starting, it's two boxes per the day. So you're starting 01, 01, 01. So maybe 1st of January, for example, you can't say 1 and leave this one blank. No, it has to be 01, two digits, 01 or 02 or 03 or 10 or 11 or 12, whatever it is. And your month, two digits as well. But the year has to be four digits, complete four digits. Four digits, one digit per box again, one digit per box again. So that is that. And then your email address, allowing one character or symbol per box. This is required as the vetting invitation, as the invitation to the e-vetting website will be sent to this address. Remember I mentioned in the part one of the tutorial that After filling the form, the vetting form, and you send it back to your employer or the recruitment agency that you are dealing with, when you send the form back to them, then and then your identity documents that should go alongside the form, they will enter that information on the e-vetting website from their end, and then you will receive an invitation you will receive an invitation to complete the e-vetting via email. You will receive an invitation to complete the e-vetting via email. So that invitation is going to be sent to you by email. That is why your email address needs to be correct. It needs to be correct. So when you are filling in the form, this is the slot for email address. You have to write one symbol or one letter per box. One letter per box. After your username, before the at is complete, sometimes some email addresses are very long. Then everything else will be at yahoo.com, at gmail.com. Everything else can be squeezed in, but at least you got the first ones correctly, because this one is the universal word and which they're going to know easily. But your main email address should be one letter per box, if you understand what I mean, with no spaces in between. Your contact number is this, right? So when you fill in your contact number, remember that you might be sent a vetting invitation form when you're still in your home country. So you don't want to assume that you are in your country. You need to put your country code. You need to put your country code while filling the vetting invitation form for contact number. For example, if you are in a country like Nigeria, the country code for Nigeria is +234. And then if your number is 080, for example, in your country, I mean, starting with 080, then you start with +234, which automatically covers the first zero on your contact number. And then you continue 80 like that, and no spaces in between. That is your contact number. No spaces in between. Make sure you are starting that with your country code. And then allow 1 digit per box for your contact number. Strictly 1 digit per box, like I mentioned before. Your current address means the address you are now living at. The address fields should be completed in full, including hair code, postcode, no abbreviation. So I'm going to show you what that means as well. I'm going to come back to this role being vetted for in a second. So your address is here, right? Line 1 of your address is the house number or apartment number or street number. Number NO space, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. So you write one box space in between two words. I mean, you don't write everything together like that. Remember, this address is 5 lines. You want to spread out your address as much as you can. So one letter per box. If you're writing apartment, for example, APARTMENT space, then the number of the apartment space, the space has to be one box. So one box space, empty space in between two words. Then the line 2 of your address, where you are currently, not the address of your employer that you haven't even resumed working with, right? That's your current address. So line 2 should be maybe the street name, the street name of the and then if the street name is too long, you can always divide that into two street. You can always divide and maybe stop that right first two words here, space in between, continue on the line 3. Line 4 is the city, name of the city, and line 5 is your country, name of the city, and then your country postcode. Some countries use postcode, some countries use hair code, some countries actually use they call it their own postal code, whatever it is. The address has PMB. You can actually put the PMB in this side, this aspect as well, PMB or PO box, so and so, or air code, what your code is, if that's what you're using, or your postcode. Some countries use zip code, is also the same, zip code. So if you go online, if you're in African countries, or maybe you don't know the zip code for your address, if you go online on Google and look up zip code for so and so, put in your city, put in your address, it's going to bring out the zip code for that area where you are. So most African countries, they use zip code, so it's also the same. Then in terms of role being vetted for, I'm going to go back to the guidelines. The role being applied for must clearly be stated, must be clearly stated. Generic terms as volunteer will not suffice. So you have to be clear. Like if you have applied for an intern doctor position, you are writing it here, intern doctor. That is what is on your application letter or the offer of the contract of employment that you received um, from your employer. Or if your role is staff nurse, staff, STAFF, space one box, nurse, and you write it one space in between each words. Okay, so role vetted for, or even maybe pediatric nurse, for example, or staff nurse theater, or things like that, whatever it is, clinical nurse manager, whatever it is on your employment contract, that is what you're going to fill in, or the role you applied for. Now, name of organization is the organization that is your employer that you're going to be working with. Some have recruitment agencies as their employer. Some have that as an employer. So you write the name here, or the organization that is vetting you, asking you to be vetted. That is the organization that you're going to be put here. Okay. That is the organization. Sometimes, even when they send the form to you, your recruitment agency might put the organization themselves. If you're not sure of the employer you're going to work with, you might confirm with your recruitment agency and ask them. And if you don't have a recruitment agency or you're just working with the employer directly, you're going to put the name of the hospital here. Now, this is a tick box which you need to tick off. We need to take off definitely. Please tick box. That means that you understand every information, you consent that the application is correct, and it's going to be vetted by a third party process. So you need to tick this box as a way of confirmation. Then your signature, as I mentioned before, no digital signatures. That's why you need to print out the form. That's why they said they're not going to accept photocopy, because this signature must be fresh. So you sign here, and the date you are signing the form again starts with 2 digits for the day, 2 digits for the month, and 4 digits for the year, if that is okay. So that is a sample of a filled form in a nutshell. Now, when you have filled this form, there is going to be identity verification. Okay, identity verification, and I'm going to show you what that means as well. So this is continuation of the guidelines, and like I mentioned, you need to declare and tick that box. That's your declaration. So this is the sample of the blank form, how it's going to look like, as I showed you. Now we go to ID verification. Sometimes a recruiter might had guidelines for verification, ID verification, with the form that you might need to go through and check. Now, for your vetting application to go through successfully, to be submitted successfully now, not for you to be vetted successfully, I mean to just for the application to go through successfully, you need to add your identification document with that form in separate PDF, a separate PDF document, as a separate PDF document. Now I'm going to come back to this page in a second. Most times this part that I'm showing on your screen is always attached with a blank form for you to go through. So for identification, you need to score 100 points, at least 100 points, 100 points and above. The identity document you are submitting must score at least 100 points and above. So this is a guideline for the score points. That's a guideline that I'm showing on your screen. For example, you are in Ireland, you have an Irish driving license, so you want to submit that. You want to submit the notarized version of it. Notarized version means you take that, you make a photocopy of the real one, of the document, the original. You take it to a commissioner for oath or a solicitor, and you tell them that, or a notary public, that you want to confirm, you want to attest to that or certify it as a true copy of the original. So they're going to check both documents, see that it's correct, no changes, no modifications, and then the notary public officer or the commissioner for oath is going to append a stamp, sign and date it, and say, oh, they confirm this is a true copy of the original document. So that's photocopy. You scan it back as PDF document. You name as your Irish driving license. You want to submit it with your form as well back to the agency or back to your employer. So that Irish driving license, for example, that we are providing can only score you 80%. So whatever you are submitting as identity document with the form, it provided this page was given with your form, right? You need to tick it off. Maybe you are using two out of this page. Tick the one you are using, put a tick over the two documents you are using, or maybe three documents or four documents. You need at least 80. Now you are still in your home country, you don't have an Irish driving license, you don't have the Irish Public Services card, which is the governmental card for all access to government services, taxes, and more like that. You don't have that now, but you have your international passport from your country of citizenship. You are notarizing the photocopy of that, scanning it back as PDF document, saving as international passport the biodata page. That document will score you a point of 70. Remember that I mentioned, then you tick this off. Remember that I mentioned that you need a score of at least 100. A score of at least 100. Okay. So that document is going to score you 70. And then you don't have an Irish certificate of naturalization. That is the citizenship one. So that will score you a 50 if you have that. So leave that. Then you have your birth certificate. You're going to notarize that as well. That will score you 50. Then you take that off. 80 plus 50 is 80 of your 70 from your international passport and 50 from your birth certificate will score you a total of 120. So that is sufficient to provide your identity validation document for the Garda vetting. Now, if you don't have a birth certificate, for example, you have declaration of age, definitely you can't use it. There's no declaration of age for here unless it says you are just using if you have an employment ID, for example, ID card that has been issued by your employer in your home country. It has the name of your employer. It has your name and address. It has your name and address. So 35, you can only score 35 by that. The photocopy of that can only score you 35 points. But if the ID card you have only has your name only, does not have your address, then you can only score 25 points. You can only score 25 points, okay? If you have an Irish driving license, old paper format, that's an old document, that will score you a score of 40. If you have a letter from your employer, either back home, either in Ireland, wherever you are, and that letter confirms your name and address, maybe a contract, for example, contract of employment, that will only score you 35 points. Remember that you need to make it up to at least 100. So you need additional document from this list that will score you in total, that will score you up to above 100 points. So if you have an electricity bill that shows all your details, your name, your address, and everything, mobile phone bills are not accepted. That is, if you print it on, excuse me, if you print it online, it's not acceptable, maybe from your email or something. It needs to bear the letter-headed paper of the company, yeah, and it needs to be signed and stamped. Okay, so you can go to your electricity company to generate one for you if you need one for a purpose such as vetting. So, and that is that, and other things are listed here again that you can use. If you have a bank credit union statement, so that will score you 35. If it has your photo, it will score you 40. If you have membership card of any kind, maybe 25, and lists like that. Things like that. Bank statement also has its points. But whatever you use, if you have an affidavit document, okay, affidavit document that has been witnessed by a commissioner for oath, so that will score you 100. That will score you automatically 100. That has been with an affidavit to confirm all your details, who you are, your name, your address, everything about you, workplace, and stuff like that. But definitely, usually, if you are in your home country, I always recommend using your international passport biodata page, notarized version, which will score you a point of 70, and your notarized birth certificate, which will score you is 50 in total, you get 100 points. So when you tick off the two you're using, you come down here and put it as total 100 points. Okay, and then you had it. So this is an example. This ID verification form is just a guideline. This may not this page here may not necessarily be included with your verification with your Garda vetting invitation form. So if you have passports, college ID that doesn't show your address but shows your full name, to score you 25. So 80 plus 25 is still 105, which is still okay. If you have an ID card issued by an employer that has your name and address, that will score you 35 points. But if you have it and you're using a college ID, you don't have anything else, you've only scored 60 points. So you need to make it up to 100 and above. So this is just a guideline to help you. I hope everyone understands. So that is about Garda vetting form and about the ID verification as well. That is the identity document that you need to include with the vetting and everything. So when you send the form, back to your employer by email or the recruiter by email, then after a few days or when that has gone through, they will send you a link to complete the application. They will send you a link to complete the application. So when you click on that link in your email, it's going to bring you to this page here that I'm showing on your screen. This page is going to open automatically from your email to this page. Like I mentioned, you need to be over 16 years old to complete the e-vetting application. If you're age 16 to 18, you need to submit the NVB3 form as well, which is the signed parent and guardian form. The institution is going to send that to you as well. You need to have access to a valid email address. You need to have access to internet, and you must have completed a proof of identity process as well. So when you receive the invitation to complete the process by email, it will include an application ID, a reference number that you just copy from your email and paste here, and then your email address, the same one that you used to receive the invitation. You paste it here as you type it out, and your date of birth, and then you select enter. And then you select enter. So when you select enter, right, it's going to open another page. It's going to open another page where you are asked to provide additional information that weren't on the form, the paper-based form that you filled initially. So that page is going to look something like this, but it's online. This is an old version, okay? It's going to be something like this, version 2. So it's going to be something like this. You will see additional informations popping up. Some would have been pre-filled. You leave them as it is. I mean, in the online e-vetting form now, when you have logged in with your application reference and with your email address and your date of birth. Sometimes if you can't access that page, or maybe there's an error, the email you received would also show you um, an email you can reach out to if you have issues with accessing the portal. So when the portal is open, you've logged in success, additional information like this is going to pop up. It's being printed on paper. It's an old version, okay? So it's going to ask you for your place of birth. Then you put it as your country. You can put it as the state, then your country. It's going to come up on your screen. Then the country of birth, that is your country as well. Your passport number, you have to input that in. Your mother's maiden name, that is the name your mom was bearing before she got married. Then you need to put that in as well. So it will pop up a page online that you can fill in all these details, not by paper now, but you can just type it in. Then aside your current address, it will ask you also for the name you are known as. This is not mandatory, but you can fill it in. Like if you have any other nickname. Remember that the Garda vetting procedure, they have to go through your files. Go online, check if you are on any criminal record, check if you are wanted in any country, go through multiple databases to confirm who you are. So if you have any other nickname that is your popular name, you can also put it here. It will also help them in that process as well. Then aside your current address that you have filled in, you need to fill in all your addresses from where you have lived from the day you were born up until now. That's why it's always good to keep track of dates, to keep track of where you live, addresses and stuff like that. Even after completing the vetting details, you need to print it out and save it, because if you're applying for another job in future and you need to go back and do this process again, the addresses you are filling would match the previous one you have used, so that you can remember. Now, all the addresses in chronological order, you need to be going like that. So it only shows from year to what year. So from what year to what year, not the month. So for example, between year 2020 and between year 2023, I mean, your current address is going to be filled in for you. So you have to fill in everything else. No gaps in between. If you have a gap, if you put for example, if you are putting 2020 to 2020 from 2020 to 2023 in this one. Second one, you have to put maybe from, excuse me, 20 from let's say from another 5 years back to year 2019. That is, if one is ending at one last year, the next one should be continuing from this year. No space in between the years, because if you put space, that form is not going to proceed. You won't be able to submit the application. So you have to fill it in. All your addresses. Remember, I mentioned line one is always the house number, street number, or apartment number, or plot number, or whatever number it is. If it's not applicable, you can just leave it and start with your street address. Okay. Wherever you have lived. Some houses, maybe when you were born, there was no postcode, no zip code, nothing, hair code. You can just leave that aspect blank. It's not mandatory to fill it all in, but provided your house has a postcode, zip code, hair code, whatever it is, you need to fill it in, one letter per box. So street number or house number. Line two, your street address, you can divide that into your street name, you can divide that into two lines. Then line four, you put your city name. Line five, you put your country name and the hair code. And so yet all the addresses where you have lived in. Then section 3 of the online form is about self-disclosed criminal record. Like, they want you to first make a declaration before they find out anything about you. If you have had a criminal record in Ireland, elsewhere, yes or no, you need to provide details. Sometimes, I think I mentioned this in part 1 of this tutorial video that is on YouTube as well, that some minor offenses, if they are above 5 years old already, they don't count anymore. So you may think, oh, are they going to penalize me because of this? You still have to put it in. It might just be minor anyway, but you still have to put it in. If you have a case that is in court, that is pending, an appeal case, and all those cases like that, you need to put them in. Okay, you need to declare them before they detect and render your application invalid. So, but you need to put a self-declaration, self-disclosure. You need to do that. If it's applicable to you, if it's a no, then the rest wouldn't be applicable. If it's applicable, you put the person, the contact person, the court details. You have to put in everything. Okay. If it's not applicable, just leave it. Just leave it in. Okay. Then declaration, and then submit. It's going to ask you for some declaration section. Remember that those declaration sections are just it's going to be just tick boxes, because this is the e-vetting now, the online aspect of it, and then it will ask you to submit. Then the parent consent, the guardian form, NVB3, looks like this, like what I'm showing on your screen, for employees that are between 16 and 18 years of age. So it looks something like this. The name of the applicant, the forename, or then the surname. Forename, that means first name space middle name, as it is on your international passport, surname and date of birth. Okay. Then the parent guardian details, your names as well, your surname, one letter per box. If you are the mom, if you are the father, if you are the guardian, relationship to applicants, if you are the sibling, if you are the aunt, if you are the uncle, or if you are the guardian, whatever it is, then the address, as I've mentioned previously, and the declaration page, So that is that about the Garda vetting. And that is that about the Garda, and you submit online. So I mentioned previously, the e-vetting is in 6 steps. Is in six steps. So the step 1 is to manually complete the form, which I showed you how to fill, and then to forward that form alongside your proof of identity to the relevant organization. Then when you've done that, step 2 is that the relevant organization is going to go through the proof of identity that you submitted and send you an email with a link attached inviting you to complete the vetting application form online, the e-vetting application form online. Now, the step 3 is about yourself as the vetting subject. You complete the vetting application form online and you submit it to the relevant organization, which is the vetting bureau, the National Vetting Bureau. So when you submit that, you submit that because your organization is a registered user of the bureau platform as well. So your organization is going to review what you have sent and then submit and forward it to the vetting bureau. Step 3 and 4 are closely related to each other. So your organization works with the bureau, they forward your application to them. And then step 5, the National Vetting Bureau is going to process your application. After a few days, they send you a vetting disclosure. So a few working days, they send you the vetting disclosure, about 5 working days. They send you the vetting disclosure to the relevant organization, to your organization, the organization that requested for the vetting. So the disclosure is not going to be made to you, it's going to be sent to the relevant organization. So the relevant organization reviews the vetting disclosure, and then they may provide you a copy of the disclosure if necessary, or generally they just proceed with your application and proceed maybe for you to complete the rest of the checks that you need to secure your employment and relocate as fast as you can. So this is an overview of the vetting process about you as the vetting subject. Provide current details, you provide proof of identity, you submit that, and they process the invite, and then they send you an invite to complete the form. They review and submit that, and then your application is going to be processed by the National Vetting Bureau, and the email notification when a disclosure is made, they send you a notification that a disclosure has now been, this vetting process has now been completed and a disclosure has been made to your organization. Okay, so that is how it is. The e-vetting process generally is fast because usually it used to be all paper-based. There is speed, there's accuracy, there's automated validation, there's confirmation of receipt of your application either by SMS, and then metrics, and then there's traceability involved as well. So thank you so much, everyone. This completes the vetting tutorial. I hope you have learned 1 or 2 things. If you have any questions, if you have any queries, if you have any contribution as well, you can also include that in the comment section and let me know. Or if you have an idea or a suggestion of a video that you want me to go through as a tutorial, then you can leave that in the comment section as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Don't forget to give a like to this video. Don't forget to turn on your to like the channel, turn on your notification bell so that you don't miss any information. Bye.